From someplace over the beautiful Pacific Northwest, USA, this is the Space Dog Radio Show. I'm the Space Dog. Thanks for tuning in. Space Dog Radio, your remote location radio station, coming to you 24/7 around the planet and throughout the universe from SpaceDogRadio.com on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Twitter at Space Dog Radio. Today, one of our featured guests, Mark Taylor Canfield, independent journalist. Mark, welcome back to Space Dog Radio with news from under the radar.
Hey, Space Dog's got some more information that you won't hear anywhere else.
Awesome. We always love hearing news from under the radar from Mark Taylor Canfield. Another guy we like hearing from is independent media mogul himself, Jacob Dean from Filter Free Radio. Shouts out to that guy. And our friends down in the home of speed, Ormond Beach, Florida, USA. And some other places I do like to hang out. I was here actually this past weekend, the Speakeasy in Portland, Oregon, one of our business associates. Also the Twilight Cafe and Bar. They were rocking some bands down there. And Rick's Roadhouse, Rockaway Beach, Oregon. Hey. Mark Taylor Canfield, you're back with us from news from under the radar. What do you have going for us this week?
Well, first I want to thank you for doing some announcer voiceovers for my new program. It's awesome. Between you and Kenny Pick at Turn Up the Night and Jacob Dean at Filter Free Radio, I got some really good voice stuff to work with and some good music mixing. So that was a
fun project, and we're excited to hear your show.
I'm excited too, and if I can ever get enough sleep, we'll get it off the air, get it on the air, off the ground, and then into the cyber airwaves, at least to begin with.
Sleep is overrated.
Stop complaining about the media and become it. And then also I was thinking of the old Lee Majors thing with the $6 Million Man, where the media may be falling apart, the corporate media, but we do have the technology and we can rebuild it.
Do I need to come in with a sound effect? What was that?
I was waiting for a rim shot, like
Right. No, it's all good stuff. When do you think your program's actually going to go live?
Well, we were trying to get it on the air this month, but man, it's so much tech stuff and pre-production stuff, so we're all a little bit behind. So I'm hoping by next month now at this point. I got my fingers crossed.
Cool.
But definitely, and I'm getting pulled away by some of these news stories that you and I talk about because I still have to do my work as a journalist. And just also a shout out to Randy Rhodes and her crew.
Yeah.
Sad that she went off the air this last week after years and years of really kind of outspoken programming. So she was one of the original Air America network DJs, talk show hosts.
Yep.
And has been with Clear Channel recently. And as Clear Channel continues to buy up stations and turn them into sports and right-wing talk stations, we see it happening all over the country. Shout out to AM 760 out of Colorado. They just changed their format too from progressive radio. So we keep, losing these voices on the air, and it's up to folks like you, myself, Jacob Dean, Nicole Sandler with the Radio Network, and even like here in Seattle, Hollow Earth Radio, and whoever else can be doing independent stuff to kind of pick up the slack where people like Randy have left off. I'd also mention X-Ray.fm out of Portland. They're doing some really good programming. I was listening to them all morning, actually. But we should probably get to some news stories. In researching the last 2 years what the USDA and the FDA have been up to, they have been conducting a lot of raids on small farms, is the stories that I've been reading about, including one in Washington State, and specifically in that instance and in others for farmers providing and selling raw milk, which is not approved apparently by the U.S. federal regulations. So they have conducted raids. Of course, that's not the only story that is important. It's just one that I was paying some attention to this last week. But there is another issue, too, that we probably haven't mentioned about the federal government would be the Department of Justice, I guess, going after medicinal marijuana growers around the country and in Washington State. So that's another issue that's not really being reported widely, is that although marijuana is legal in states like California and Washington State, and that medicinal marijuana is also legal in other states like Vermont, there still continues to be a policy of busting medicinal marijuana growers, people who specifically are growing marijuana for medicinal use. So Huffington Post actually did a story about it, and so it's getting out there, but it's not really in the national news. So that's something that people should probably take a look at too, in terms of news from under the radar that you won't hear many other places.
Yeah, that's incredible. You know, I heard the story also about the federal government clamping down on breweries that want to sell their excess oats and barley to farmers to feed their cattle, and the FDA saying, no, you've got to label, you got to do this, you got to do that. This is a government oversight that's really hurting a lot of small farmers.
Well, you're not the first to say that. And the reaction among some opinionators or commentators that I've talked to, their thought was that there's a big corporate farming industry, the big corporate farms, probably in some ways don't really appreciate small farmers as much. And if you look at some of the corporate influence in the U.S. government, where you do have folks that used to work at Monsanto that are now with the U.S. government, it makes you wonder where the corporate influence has reached into those agencies.
I wasn't gonna mention Cargill or Okay, well, at least it's on the radar now, whereas before it was under the radar, and you bring that to our attention, so appreciate that. Anything else, Mark Taylor Canfield, you want to send out to the rest of the planet?
Well, I will be following up on these stories we talked about, and so I'm sure there will be new developments. And I just keep thinking about the need for alternative media like this program, because it just seems like without these independent networks like the Indie Media Week folks and Filter Free Radio and Radio or Not, there aren't many opportunities to get these kinds of stories, at least to get to hear a reporter or a talk show talk about them at least,
Right.
One of the things that Progressive Radio is actually doing a pretty good job of keeping certain stories out there and highlighted that aren't normally being reported by, the daily newspaper or CNN. So when you don't hear them on the air anymore, then you're not going to find just that kind of coverage in most corporate media. So that is a concern. And I just want to, thank folks for supporting Space Dog Radio and all these other networks, and keep it up, because we really appreciate the support on these independent efforts to just get the truth out there and just talk about what's going on in the world. So thanks for tuning in, Space Dogs, and I guess as they say it during every report, we'll see you on the next orbit, eh?
Yeah, Mark Taylor Canfield, we got a link on spacedocradio.com. Check him out. Also on Facebook, big on there. And Twitter is where I catch all his hottest news from under the radar. Mark Taylor Canfield, independent journalist, widely known across the progressive world. Thank you so much for tuning in to Space Dog Radio. Appreciate it.
No problem, and I'll let you know when the show is up and on the air.
Sweet.
So thanks a lot for your help.
All right, Mark Taylor Canfield with his new show coming up in June 2014. You got to be checking that out. We're going to be talking more about it on Space Dog Radio. Also coming up on Space Dog Radio, the Swiss put holes in more than cheese when they shoot down a plan for a national minimum wage. There's people all over the world fighting for a minimum wage, and Switzerland's one of them. The plan just went down in flames. We'll be talking about that on Space Dog Radio. Also, if you're in Jet City, the Seattle area, we will be at Folklife Festival, the base of the Space Needle, this coming weekend. Memorial Day weekend, we'll be at Folklife. If you see the Space Dog, come on by, have a beer, and let's talk. All right, from someplace over.
Yeah, check out Folklife, everybody. It's a great celebration. It's the only free festival left.
Yes.
If you want to read more about the 15-hour minimum wage, go to my article at Daily Coast, and also I'm writing at Op-Ed and Truth Out. So see you next time.
All right, cool. From someplace over the beautiful Pacific Northwest, USA, this has been the Space Dog Radio Show. I'm the Space Dog along with Mark Taylor Canfield. Thank you for listening. Be safe, be happy, and I'll catch you next orbit.